Next, we go to Game 3. That's right. Lenorm and Inkars both have won one game. They are even on this best of 3. Now they'll face off in this final clash. We see some mortars already opening up on Witch Elves. We've got Vampire Coast versus Dark Elves. Super interesting matchup. Historically, this has been Vampire Coast favored because Dark Elves short range, or like missiles, right, are short range in comparison to something like High Elven Archers. They get outranged pretty consistently by the Vampire Coast. So let's see how that dynamic plays out here as Inkars tries to win with the Coast to take series, and Lenorm opposes him. Start actually with Lenorm's build here. How is he going to try and crack this matchup? He's got some Dark Shards, a couple of Harpies, including the ROR, a nice wide mix of infantry, including Witch Elves, which are quite a nice pick right now, Dark Riders, and Doomfire Warlocks out on the flanks. So a lot of mobility, some fast infantry that is currently getting bombed. Looks like the mortar is actually going to switch to the Dark Shards, which is an interesting choice. Maybe trying to protect some of these elites here. We've got the Night Terrors and Animated Hulks as a backline, a couple of Depth Guard polearms, along with guns, a couple of pistols protecting the flanks here, and zombies up front with a halberd, Vampire, Admiral. Very interesting choices. Shade Wraith Gunners also in the center. One of the squishiest units in the entire game, but right now doing some really good work against this other squishy unit. Those Witch Elves taking a beating as they advance. Yeah, once their unit kind of gets spread out a little bit, it actually benefits them. They don't get hit quite as hard, but we are going to see the Doom Bolt. This is, again, before the Doom Bolt nerf. Yeah, we'll see. That is going to do quite a bit of damage to the Admiral there. He's going to be in some trouble. Maybe would have been worth it to take him on the Crab just to get the extra armor and HP. Protect from a little bit of that Doom Bolt's damage. But anyway, yeah, multiple Witch Elves, like, basically not even making contact here. Also, one Dark Shard gets blasted on the way in. This unit of Dark Shards also getting blasted on the way in. So some really good damage initially from Inkars here. But the flank attacks have yet to develop. We got some Bleak Swords moving in, the Doomfire Warlocks and the Dark Riders. You know, Animated Hulks are pretty squishy at the end of the day. Not a lot of armor or melee defense, so let's see if they get hard taken out here. The Night Terror Morngulls are also not particularly tanky, but let's see how the match develops so far. A little bit of invocation of the Heck to heal the Vampire, and he's going to get immediately Doom Bolted again. Furies dropping in. I say Furies. They're actually Harpies. They wish they were Furies. Furies are actually much better and would kill the Shade Wraith Gunners instantly because they have magic attacks. Instead, they're going to just kill them within like 1 minute maybe. Animated Hulks have some time to respond. Doom Bolt blasts away. The Admiral's not long for this world, so I don't know if he has any big expensive spells. He's actually of the Deeps. Okay, so it doesn't even have healing. It doesn't even have Invocation of the Heck. Interesting. I missed that initially. Yeah, it just has Tide Call. Probably wish he has Van Geist's Revenge right now so he could just dump his entire Winds of Magic pool, but the handgunners firing away as the zombies and Animated Hulks try and defend. Lenorm did a really nice job kind of breaking up his forces and attacking from all angles, and right now has a brutal murderous prowess. I say brutal for the Vampire Coast because that is some great timing. Almost everything is engaged in melee, so you're getting basically maximum value from that as the melee attack portion especially just kicks into high gear. Witch Brew also popped at the same time. Nice timing push. Kind of save that until the Murderous Prowess is active. And that is going to absolutely annihilate this entire flank here, pretty much. I mean, the Witch Elves are also taking some damage in the process, but yeah, Vampire Coast not going quietly, even ahead a little bit on the balance of power, just based on some of the damage that they've been able to do. But Lord's down, the Night Terror Ghouls are down. It's coming down to a lot of zombie guns and halberds at the end of the day, a couple of Animated Hulks, but yeah, I think Inkars would have been a lot better served to have the Regiment of Renown Prometheans instead of the Night Terrors, instead of the Morngulls. The Morngulls are just so squishy, and he really didn't have like a very tanky singular piece here. Like, yes, the Rotting Promethean gunnery mob, right? The Regiment of Renown, they're somewhat vulnerable to Dark Shards, but he was able to blast the Dark Shards pretty effectively from the outset, so wasn't really that much of a factor, and would have been really nice in this situation to try and tank this late game, because right now the Doomfire Warlocks are closing. Got a decent Soul Blight here. It's not going to affect weapon strength. None of these units have tons of weapon strength, except maybe the Hulks, I guess. But, yeah, balance of power very quickly turning as these missile units start to get eaten up. Another big Doombolt blast. And that Doombolt blast, I think, hit some Harpies in the air. Almost had Furies again. Yeah, the animated Hulk's collapsing from here. So the Hulks did a pretty decent job in certain pockets. They're not tanky enough to be able to hold out in the long term without healing support. And, yeah, I think the lore of magic, just the lore situation in general, I probably would have done something different. And having the Prometheans instead of the Night Terrors, I think Inkar's probably wins this from a build perspective. Obviously, it's up to him to execute, and credit to Lenorm really executing this very well. Kind of, he got blasted in a couple zones, but still was able to keep things cohesive and bring a lot of different pressure from different angles at the same time. Really keep Inkar's on his back foot in terms of the initiative, and didn't let himself kind of get drawn into unfavorable engagements despite getting blasted in the face, which is something that can definitely happen when you're faced with a strong volume of fire like that, strong ranged burst damage at long range. It can kind of sometimes force some mistakes, but credit to Lenorm here. Kept it very calm and was able to prevail. Mostly. I mean, it's technically not over yet. These Depth Guard polearms might be able to hold out against all odds here, but we do still have the Dark Shards fighting. This unit of Dark Shards has been routed, so we're going to pop a little fast forward as Inkar's makes his valiant last stand here. Yeah, the one unit gets taken out. Still dropping more Doom Bolts. I think that one actually hit the animated Hulks. He very smartly is going to chase this Dark Shard just fully off the map. But he is left with one more Dark Shard left on the field. There's a decent amount of cavalry here as well, including the Doomfire Warlocks, which are going to be pretty potent. And Depth Guard, yeah, they're down a little bit on armor because of the exhaustion, so even the non-AP units should be able to come in and do some damage to them. It's up to their melee defense and that hunger passive to try and hold out. But right now, with the Hulks charging in, they're going to take some damage initially, just try and plow through the Witch Elves to get through to the Dark Shards while they're crumbling. Honestly, not a bad idea. It looks like they're able to effectively do that, while the Depth Guard then come in and eat up the Witch Elves while replenishing some HP from the hunger. Yeah, they were able to make contact there with the Dark Shards, but ultimately choosing to just charge over into the Dark Riders. Fortunately, we're not able to hold out, and a little bit of Soul Blight here to further lower the armor of the Depth Guard. They start taking a ton of damage and go to army losses. So, quite the battle, I have to say. Inkar's made it respectable. Both players, honestly, had a little bit of back and forth. But Inkar's ultimately taking the loss, Lenorm taking the win, and moving on in the tournament. Yeah, fun stuff overall. Certainly a decent build overall, but yeah, just sort of lacking anything that that could act as a strong backbone. We'll check more into that in just a second. Love the pick of the mortars here in particular. Really, really excellent choice. The wide gun line also a pretty good choice as well. They're all fairly cost effective. Jade Wraith Gunners, I don't know. We'll have to check their costs. I don't think they technically pay for themselves, but a decent choice nonetheless. One unit of Depth Guard polearms able to prevail and do quite well. But for Lenorm here, I'm just going to get really nice kind of spread value across these different infantry that we're able to actually get in and make contact. Dark Shards, despite getting blasted, a couple of them get some respectable value. Cavalry also, you know, decent value spread all around. It's just a good sort of combined arms win. A lot of crumbling damage being done here as well, which is why the values are maybe a little bit lower than what you might expect for certain units, but they definitely did what they needed to, and won in a potentially tough matchup. I like the mix of the Witch Elves here, plus the Bleak Swords. Like, yes, some of your Witch Elves are going to get killed on the approach, I think, regardless here, as long as the Ghost has some range tools and didn't go with some insane, like, all Crab Rush, which actually might give this build some problems, hard to say. But, yeah, you kind of have answers for a lot of different things here. A good volume of mobility as well. The Dark Shards for support. So, presenting a lot of threats for the Vampire Coast to have to think about and deal with, which is definitely something that can help assist in this matchup. But Yeah, fun stuff overall. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.